Decades ago, a media theorist named Marshal McLuhan asserted that media falls into one of two categories: hot media and cold media. Media belong to these two categories based on two main criteria. The first criteria is known as its definition. McLuhan describes high definition as the state of being well filled with data, which in modern language translates to being saturated with lots of visual, auditory, or other sensory information. Low definition, on the other hand, means that there's less information. Consumers are inundated with less overwhelming information overall. Low definition can also mean that audiences get distracted by other things while engaging with the media because there's not enough definition. This cartoon, as an example, is low definition because not very much visual information is provided and leaves a lot of gaps to be filled in or completed by the audience. In this case, you fill in the blanks of the pixelated image because you know that it's meant to represent three men, one of whom is running. So hot media is high definition, while cold media is low definition. And this feeds directly into our second criteria of participation. McLuhan was not thinking of participation the way that we think of it now. He wasn't referring to it whether it had buttons or needed you to operate it in order for it to function. Rather, he was referring to a need for completion by the audience. Something that is low participation speaks for itself and doesn't need the audience to complete it. High participation media, on the other hand, requires more of the audience. They must complete it in order to understand it or work with it. So, hot media is low participation, and cold media calls for more participation. To summarize these two criteria, hot media is high definition, meaning that there's a lot of sensory data, and low participation, meaning that the media speaks for itself and requires little of the audience. Cold media, on the other hand, is low definition, meaning that it has less complete information, and higher participation, meaning that it requires more of the audience. Now, here's an example that hopefully helps to illustrate the difference. Take a lecture class. In a lecture, lots of information is provided completely without interruption. This means that it is high definition. In addition, the information speaks for itself and involves fewer distractions or involvement from the audience. This means that it's lower participation. High definition and low participation mean that this is, yes, you guessed it, hot media. Now think of a seminar class. In a seminar class, less information is explicitly provided, which means that it is low definition. In addition, students must be more active in participating with the material in order to make sense of it. There are more interjections and distractions. This means that it calls for more participation. Therefore, this is cold media because it's low definition and requires more participation. Does that make some sense? Good, because it's your turn.